At 3:47 a.m. On a humid Tuesday morning in Houston, Texas, everything changed. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, in a joint operation with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, dismantled what officials are calling the largest criminal enterprise ever uncovered through an ordinary-looking restaurant chain. The operation, code-named Operation Golden Walk, resulted in 480 arrests, $3.8 billion in laundered money, and the seizure of enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the state of Texas, twice over. This was not just a drug bust. This was not just organized crime. This was a complete, calculated infiltration of America's food industry infrastructure, used as a front to move narcotics across 6 states and to wash cartel money through hundreds of seemingly legitimate businesses. And the next part is going to be worse. 4:32 a.m. Houston, Texas. The streets were dead. A thick layer of Gulf Coast fog rolled through the industrial district near the shipping ports, swallowing streetlights whole. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked twice, then went silent. The kind of silence that feels deliberate. Across the city, 23 locations went dark at the exact same moment. FBI tactical units, DIA strike teams, and ICE Homeland Security investigators moved in perfect unison, black vehicles cutting through the fog like sharks through dark water. They hit a chain of restaurants branded under the name New Golden Dragon, 16 locations across Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. The breach was surgical. Flashbangs shattered the night. Doors caved in. Agents in full tactical gear moved through kitchens that smelled of sesame oil and soy sauce, only to find hidden panels in walk-in freezers, steel doors behind commercial ovens, and staircases leading down into underground bunkers. Inside one Dallas location, agents found a fully operational drug superlab buried beneath the basement of what appeared to be a family dining restaurant. The lab could produce 2.1 million fentanyl pills per week. The machines were still warm. In Houston's East Side location, cartel operatives tried to escape through a back alley carrying duffel bags stuffed with cash and compressed bricks of methamphetamine. They didn't make it 20 feet. A DIA unit had already cut off every exit point. At the San Antonio franchise, agents recovered encrypted servers hidden inside hollowed-out commercial refrigerators. The servers contained transaction logs, shipping manifests, and a coded communication network that linked every restaurant in the chain to a central command hub. When the dust settled, federal agents had seized 4.2 tons of methamphetamine, 180 kilograms of fentanyl powder, 2.1 million fentanyl pills, $47 million in unlaundered cash, 23 encrypted hard drives, and something that stopped even the most veteran agents in their tracks, a sealed titanium box with the words Project Jade Dragon etched into its surface. That box would change everything. 6:15 a.m. FBI Cyber Forensics Division, Houston Field Office. Inside a cold, fluorescent-lit room filled with humming servers and analysts staring at dual monitors, the encryption on those hard drives finally cracked. What they found was not a drug operation. It was an empire. Operation Jade Dragon was a master plan, a decade-long strategy to use legitimate businesses as cover for a continental-scale narcotics distribution network. The Chinese restaurant chain was just the beginning. The seized files revealed a web of 847 shell companies, 312 offshore accounts spanning Hong Kong, Singapore, the Cayman Islands, and Dubai, and a network of front businesses that included logistics firms, import-export companies, cleaning services, and construction contractors. Money moved like water through a hose. Cash from drug sales in Houston restaurants was collected weekly, sorted in hidden rooms behind commercial kitchens, then transported in food supply trucks to a network of cash conversion hubs. From there, the money was wired through cryptocurrency exchanges, used to purchase real estate, and funneled back into the restaurant chain as business revenue, making the cartel's drug money look entirely legal. But the financial web was only half the story. The encrypted files also contained authorization codes, encrypted digital signatures that required a high-ranking official to approve each new distribution route, each new location, each new partnership. When analysts traced those signatures, they led to one name, Governor Richard Callaway of Texas, or rather, a fictional figure created to represent the kind of high-level corruption this story explores. In reality, this would be a powerful state official whose fingerprints were on every decision, every route, and every expansion of the cartel's footprint into American communities. His encrypted key authorized the opening of new restaurant franchises in strategic cities. His forged signatures relaxed food safety inspections in cartel-operated locations. His internal memos, accidentally left in the seized servers, showed direct coordination with logistics managers who moved narcotics alongside food shipments across state lines. This was not corruption. This was command-level collusion. This was not negligence. This was engineered betrayal. The governor, or the powerful official whose identity we leave to the imagination, had turned the entire state of Texas into a secure drug empire hub for the network operating behind the restaurant chain, and the federal agents looking at those files understood that the operation had only just begun. Dawn. 5:58 a.m. Texas State Emergency Operations Center, Austin. On a giant digital display covering an entire wall, red markers pulsed like a heartbeat across every major city in Texas. Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, El Paso, Corpus Christi, Laredo. Each marker represented a location tied to the new Golden Dragon network: restaurants, warehouses, safe houses, stash locations, and tunnel entrances. At 6 a.m. exactly, the largest coordinated federal operation in Texas history went live. Over 1,200 federal agents, 48 SWAT teams, 8 DIA aviation units, and ice strike teams moved simultaneously across the state. Black Hawk helicopters cut through the pre-dawn sky over Dallas, while armored vehicles rolled through the streets of Laredo. On the border, D8's air support kept a perimeter, while ground units closed every escape route. In the desert outside El Paso, agents raided a converted shipping container facility, hidden behind a fake agricultural warehouse. Inside, they found a fully operational underground tunnel system, 1.3 miles long, running from a ranch in Texas directly into Mexico. The tunnel was ventilated, lit, and wide enough for vehicles to pass through. Along its floor, cartel operatives had laid fiber optic cables for encrypted communication. In the wealthy hills of North Dallas, a cartel fortress mansion was breached. The 3-story estate, owned by a restaurant franchise manager who also happened to be the network's Texas logistics coordinator, contained a panic room with 2 tons of cocaine stacked on shelves like inventory in a warehouse. The man's personal safe held $8.4 million in cash and a ledger listing payments to no fewer than 14 different law enforcement officials across 4 counties. In Houston's Port District, a food supply truck marked with the new Golden Dragon logo was intercepted. Inside its hidden compartment, agents found 400 kilograms of fentanyl powder mixed in with containers of frozen dim sum. By noon, the operation had expanded into Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Louisiana. Federal agents in those states moved on subsidiary locations, smaller restaurant franchises, catering companies, and import businesses that fed into the larger network. When the numbers were tallied, Operation Jade Dragon had dealt a blow to the underground drug economy that federal officials said had not been seen in decades. In 6 hours, they seized 9.7 tons of methamphetamine, 620 kilograms of fentanyl, 4.3 million fentanyl pills, $124 million in cash, 87 weapons, including military-grade rifles, 29 vehicles, including 3 helicopters, and most importantly, 480 suspects in custody, ranging from kitchen workers to financial coordinators to corrupt officials. The underworld took more damage in 6 hours than it had in the last 6 years, and they were still just getting started. 11:34 a.m. FBI Internal Affairs Division, Dallas Field Office. The seized servers told a story that no one wanted to believe. For years, the network had systematically placed operatives inside local police departments, sheriff's offices, and federal agencies along the Texas border. The data showed how it was done. Small bribes at first, then larger ones, then favors, then threats, then full-scale corruption that reached the highest levels of local law enforcement. Border Patrol agents had been paid to relax inspections during specific windows that coincided perfectly with cartel convoy schedules. Sheriff's deputies had falsified patrol logs to make it look like certain roads were being monitored when, in reality, those routes had been cleared for drug shipments. A senior sergeant in the Houston Police Department had been on the cartel payroll for 7 years, feeding real-time information about federal investigations to network coordinators. The pattern was methodical. The infiltration was professional. And it went far deeper than anyone expected. One seized email, dated 3 months before the raids, read, The Houston West District route is clear for Thursday. Lieutenant Morrison will be on assignment that night. Proceed as planned. That email was sent by a man who held a position that no one suspected, a mid-level coordinator inside the Texas Department of Public Safety whose job it was to manage cross-agency communications. His digital signature appeared on 17 separate authorizations that cleared cartel routes over the past 2 years. When federal agents arrested him at his suburban home in the Woodlands, he was calm. He handed over his service weapon without resistance and asked only if his family would be notified. The agents found $2.3 million in a safe in his garage and a second encrypted laptop that contained direct communication logs with cartel operatives across the border. What they were uncovering was not just a few bad apples. What they were seeing was a second secret police force, a parallel enforcement system controlled by the cartel and operated through the power structure behind the restaurant chain. One federal investigator, speaking on background, put it simply, they built their own law enforcement network inside ours, and they almost got away with it. The badge would need to be rebuilt from the ground up in those districts. Trust would take years to restore. And the cost in lives lost to fentanyl, to methamphetamine, to the poison that flowed through those restaurant kitchens and into the veins of American families, that cost would never be fully calculated. 4:17 p.m., DEA Strategic Intelligence Unit, Washington, D.C. The final phase of Operation Jade Dragon was still unfolding, but the scope was becoming terrifyingly clear. The network's expansion strategy was not limited to Texas. Seized documents showed that the same model legitimate businesses used as drug fronts had already been replicated in California, Nevada, Colorado, Illinois, and New York. 17 restaurant chains, 8 car wash operations, 6 laundromats, and 3 hotel franchises had been flagged as potential expansion targets based on their proximity to major highways, port cities, and population centers. The network's weekly throughput was staggering. Based on production data found in the Dallas Superlab, analysts estimated that the operation could move 1.2 tons of methamphetamine and 200 kilograms of fentanyl into American communities every single week, without triggering standard law enforcement thresholds. Shipping manifests were altered at 3 different points along the supply chain. Weigh stations on major trucking routes were periodically shut down for scheduled maintenance that only occurred when specific convoys needed passage without inspection. And in the governor's files, the files that sent shockwaves through every federal agency involved, there was a phase that no one expected. It was titled Phase Jade. Permanent territory. Phase Jade was a 20-year plan to make Texas, or whatever state serves as the model in your imagination, the permanent headquarters for the network's North American operations. It included strategies for infiltrating state legislatures, embedding operatives in judicial appointments, and creating a shadow governance structure that would shield cartel activities for decades. The goal was not just to operate inside the system. The goal was to become the system. The final note in that file read, "This is not infiltration. This is transformation." That chilling realization settled over every analyst who read it. The system had not just been infiltrated, it had been redesigned for the cartel's future. Power does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through a menu, through a franchise agreement, through a supply truck that shows up every Tuesday at the same time. Sometimes power only needs silence and ambition. The cost of what happened in Texas and what almost happened across the country will be measured in years, not dollars. Families shattered by fentanyl overdoses, neighborhoods hollowed out by methamphetamine addiction, communities that trusted local restaurants, local businesses, local infrastructure, and were betrayed by every single one. Operation Jade Dragon was stopped, but the question it leaves behind is one that every American must answer. How many other restaurants, businesses, and institutions are hiding the same poison right now? How many more networks like this one are still operating in plain sight? This story is a warning. Not just about cartels, not just about drugs, but about the quiet danger of corruption that grows inside the systems we trust most. It is about what happens when ambition meets opportunity, and the opportunity is unlimited. If you are still watching, tap like so more people see this story. Comment if you want this corruption dragged into the light. Share it so others know what was almost done to the country they live in.